AAA's 2727. I just watched the Boba Fett book. I don't know why it's called the Boba Fett book when you watch it, but it sounds cool. It sounds pretty cool. So we're watching Why Young Boba. I don't know how to say his name. Why Young Boba Fett mentions Cad Bane to Jango. Why Young Boba Fett mentions Cad Bane to Jango. Okay. Jango Fett is I don't know who I like better, Jango Fett or Boba Fett. I think Boba Fett. That's what's the freaking video.
Boba Fett was Cad Bane's apprentice for a time, and
Yes.
Cad Bane was Jango Fett's, Boba's father. At least that's
Hey,
what
what's that guy's name? Cad Bane. Cad Bane's fucking old. Bro, he doesn't even look old. Is he like? Can he live long like Yoda? I don't know.
bounty hunting records tell us. But
Never
whenever
seen
we search
anything
through
like
the
him.
history of the late Republic, it's hard to find many stories that connect the three, especially after Jango Fett accepted Darth Tyrannus' proposal that his DNA would be used as a template for the clones of the Republic army. The stories of the
Oh, I
bounty
didn't even know that. I thought it was just like I don't know, like a special.
hunters fade into
Special one.
obscurity. We don't actually hear much from Cad Bane, Jango, or Boba until a few months before the Clone Wars. But there was one time, just a moment shared between father and son, when we learn what Boba Fett actually thought of Cad Bane. Sometime before his famous duel with Obi-Wan Kenobi on the
Oh, yeah, there he
rain-swept
is.
platforms of Kamino,
Looks sick
Jango
as.
Fett found himself in a dingy cantina on the inner rim world of Telarath. Like most seedy pubs in the galaxy, this tiny hovel on Telarath housed the same familiar faces: thieves, smugglers, and bounty hunters. In a distant corner of the establishment, leaning over a circular table, a bat-like Chadrafan, a green-skinned Rhodian, and a grand bounty hunter waited miserably. As they cycled through some of the worst grog that the
a whole
bar could
story
offer,
here.
they traded complaints about their fourth member, who was annoyingly late. You'd think someone with his rep could actually show up on, the Gand whined, as his tiny, rodent companion ordered another round. Before the bartender had a chance to nod his head and signal that he'd heard their order, a Mandalorian warrior
Drinks.
passed into the bar, covered head to toe in silver Beskar armor. Jango Fett.
Wait, was he the first Mandalorian? I've no idea if he was the first Mandalorian. I don't think he. I've no idea.
It's a real honor, the Rhodian piped up, managing to prove just how amateurish the lot of bounty hunters were with a single greeting. As the green-skinned humanoid pointed his hand around the table, introducing the other hunters he had assembled, a child walked out of the bar's shadows and into the buzzing yellow light that
Boba!
filled the booth. Hello, it was Boba Fett. Jango had taken his son with him on this mission. That wasn't the unusual either. Every time Jango left to hunt another bounty, he couldn't help but feel bad, leaving his son behind in the care of that old, forgetful Kaminoan droid. As soon as Boba was old enough, Jango started to take him
Wait,
along in
Boba.
order
I mean, Jango looks clean, bro. Jango's underrated. Like he's definitely underrated. I really don't know if he's underrated or overrated. He's mid. He's midly rated.
pass on the ancient warrior traditions that had served the Mandalorians for over 5,000
Oh,
years.
so he wasn't the
But when Boba
first
looked at the
Mandalorian.
sad lot of hunters assembled at this tiny cantina on Tellar,
Bro, what? In the Boba Fett one, all the Mandalorians are so serious about taking your helmet off. Jango Fett took his helmet off. Like, everyone takes their helmet off. You don't have to be serious about it. Like, jeez.
he couldn't help but feel a little bit disappointed. And unlike his old man, he didn't keep his feelings to himself. In fact, he gave him a proper earful on the ride out of the dump. I don't see why we're doing a job with this crew, Boba Fett said, as his father
Oh, and that
piloted their
shit. Was that
fire-spray
Jango
31
Fett's
class
shit?
patrol. I haven't even heard
Shit,
it.
fuck.
Entertainment District, which would later be known as Slave
Bro, it looks clean.
1. They had just left the bar
It does.
after debriefing the other.
Okay, I'm
I
sorry.
don't see why we're doing. They had just left the bar after debriefing the other members of the hunting party of their specific plan. I haven't even heard any of them, Boba continued. And it's in the next sequence that we're able to find one of the only mentions of Cad Bane during Fett's youth prior to the Battle of Geonosis and the start of the Clone Wars.
Alright.
Why can't we work with Cad Bane? Or Aura Singh? Or Zam Wessel? And who's who of the greatest bounty hunters in the galaxy? Boba Fett would rather work with any number of them over the strange bat-like creature and
Hey,
his
they look
fortune-telling brigand
Shit.
friend. While Jango looked through the transparent windows of his cockpit, keeping an eye out for any starships that were moving a little too quickly, perhaps an old client with a grudge, he wasn't too distracted to impart fatherly advice to his son. Because you know them, or know of them, which means you have at least some idea of how they work, he said, amused that he, of all people, was imparting advice. The unknown factor. That's the real reason here. And it was a lesson that Boba would learn by the end of the hunt. After completing their mission, the other bounty hunters betrayed Jango and threatened to kill Boba if he didn't hand over the woman they were contracted to capture.
Wait,
Jango
what?
didn't even consider accepting the deal and turned his back on Boba, allowing the Chadra fan to think the Mandalorian had exchanged his only child's life for a bounty, a deadly mistake. Boba quickly withdrew a concealed pistol and killed
damn!
2 of the traitors and allowed the third one to flee, since he didn't seem to be
Holy
in on the
shit.
betrayal, and so that the legend of Boba Fett could start to fill cantinas across the Inner Rim. But that's a different story for a different time. When it comes to Boba Fett's
kid's
conversation with his
ruthless.
father in the cockpit of Slave One, there's a lot that we can gather about the Fett's relationship
Like a
with Bane.
banta.
Again, there isn't much written about the 3 in historical records besides the obvious. Jango mentored Bane, and Bane mentored Boba. But we've never actually seen much of that mentorship in any of the stories.
Yeah,
so when
we
Boba
haven't.
Fett complains about the pathetic bounty hunters on Telarath and suggests working with Cad Bane instead, he's likely making the recommendation because he
What the
knows
fuck? He looks ugly in that one. He looks like a demon.
that Bane is one of his father's favorite associates, someone that he could trust. When his father died in the arena of Geonosis, there was only a handful of people that Boba could really turn to, and Cad Bane was one of them. Thanks to Jango's mentorship of the Derosian bounty hunter, they had a good relationship. That being said, Bane always wanted to be the best bounty hunter, and while Jango was alive, that wasn't going to happen. If we take it a step further, it's obvious by the end of the Telarath mission that Jango wanted to teach his son a powerful lesson about who to trust in general. After they had secured their bounty, the Fetts walked in front of their 3 other partners, and that mistake allowed them to surprise attack them. If they had worked with Cad Bane or Aurra Sing, as Boba would have liked, the boy would have never learned how to prepare himself for treachery, which only adds further evidence to the idea that Bane was one of the few people the Fetts could rely on. In the end, it's quite impossible to know exactly what great adventures Cad
huge.
Bane and the Fetts went on together. But in this small conversation aboard the Slave One, the way the pair talk about the Derosian, almost as if he were an uncle-ish figure, reveals much more than enough. And in the book of Boba Fett, this also makes sense as to why Cad
just kills him. Like they don't even like each other anymore. Like what the fuck?
before he was gonna terminate him, this is my final lesson to you, bringing everything in full circle and showing that Cad did indeed have adventures with Boba. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I wish there was a little more information about Cad and Boba together.
Yeah, I did too.
I guess we'll have to wait for that to happen, maybe in a comic, or maybe some more information that I can find. Thanks for watching this video. Catch you all in the next one. Until then, remember, the Force will be with you always.
How? The Force can't. But the
Thanks for watching this
the
video.
Force.
Catch you all in the next one. Until then, remember, the Force.
The Force can't be with me. It's not real. Guys, Star Wars isn't real. Do you realize that? It's just a show. You guys can't actually use the Force. Even though I've tried so many times trying to grab the remote from the table, concentrate, tap into that extra 90% of the brain, 20% of the brain, I don't know. I don't know. Force. May the Force be with you. May the Force be with me.